client situations. If you're ready, put a thumbs up in the chat if you're ready. Okay, everybody's ready? I've been honing these strategies for at least 15 years. So this is the 8th, I'm going into the 9th year of being, well, let's see, how does that work? Yes, so we started in 2016, so DGH Capital Management, and it's now 2024, so we're 8 years in, and then before that I was 6 years client facing also. So I've been doing this over the past decade and a half or so. And what I'm sharing with you now is something that, of course, like I had to learn the hard way, but I really want you to just be able to apply it. And I'm going to give you scenarios. Like I said, I got 4 scenarios by which I use these, and I'm going to show you how I use them. So let me give you the framework first. Okay. So let me get the whiteboard out. We're going to do some whiteboard stuff today. Give me a second. This is, I think I want this one. Nope, not that one. This one. There we go. Okay. So this is an acronym that you will need to remember. Okay. Because I'm not going to keep it up the whole time that we're doing this. Okay. Some of you that have been following me for a while know about this. It's this. I call it, wait a minute. What's going on here? I don't know what is going on with my board here. A second. Let's make sure. I think I need to do this. Give me a second. Ladies and gentlemen. All right, let's try this way. I'm getting double for some reason. All right, I think you guys are seeing it. Okay, so that's the acronym. I've always said that real financial advice, people hear me say this and they don't know what it means all the time, so I'm about to break it down. Real financial advice has the ability to change people's financial family tree. I believe everybody should have that opportunity because it's so transformational for generations and generations beyond you. But these letters are an acronym that stand for something that I really believe in. And so that is that financial advice should always be relatable. Okay. And I'm going to go through all these. It should be empathetic. It should be attentive. And you should be always listening. Okay. So those are the 4 characteristics in this formula. And I'm going to show you how this works with what I'm talking about. So I have had 4, I've had many more than this, but in the last month or so, I've had 4 conversations with people that knew what I did, knew that I was a financial professional, and came to me for advice. And I'll give you the settings and all that stuff in just a second. But I'm going to show you how, if you start to learn these characteristics and apply them as a financial professional, how you will be able to handle any conversation that comes your way. Okay. Now we'll take some practice. Like I've been practicing this for 15 years. It will take you some practice, but this is kind of like a master key for you to just use whenever you want to use it, which I hope often, so that you become really good at it. Okay. So the first scenario is a scenario in which about a month ago-ish, I had the opportunity to speak to a crowd of about 70 people. My church was giving it was called a Serenity for the Holidays. And I was giving the talk on finances, like how to not only budget during the holidays, but how to adopt some principles for your giving strategies and how you plan and just things like that. Okay. So that's the context. Well, a woman that did not see the whole presentation that I gave came up to me afterwards and asked me some questions, gave me a lot about her situation, and we proceeded to have a conversation. Now, here's what you need to know as a financial professional. If you're employed or self-employed, then the question becomes how can I help this person? Is there anything I could do to help this person? I didn't say, should this person be a client? I said, how can I help this person? That's the first thing you need to be thinking about. Okay. Now, this hits on a couple of the 4 that I just gave you here, but which one do you think is the most important when, and let me change the pen color. Which one do you think is the most important in that regard on what I'm talking about right now? Okay. How can I help the person? What does that fall into? Relatable, empathetic, attentive, or listening? Which one? Okay. Even before I tell you what happened with the conversation with this woman and all these things, which one do you think it is? Do you think it's relatable? Do you think it's empathetic? Or do you think it's attentive? Or do you think it's listening? Okay, which one? I'm going to give you some, think about it and throw your answer into the chat. Okay. Somebody comes up to me. I'm a financial professional. They know I'm a financial professional. The first thing I need to be thinking about is not, will this person become my client? Is not, how much money do they have? It is, can I help them? Okay? So I'll give it to you. I think it's a couple of them, but the first one that comes to my mind first is attentive. Okay? And I think a close second is listening. Okay? So the very first thing I did with her, and you should be doing with a prospective client specifically, this is a prospective client situation, scenario. And actually, let me, just so we can make sure we're tracking here. This first one is, we're going to say scenario 1 is prospective client. Okay, so in this particular case, what I did is I asked a lot of questions. I let her first talk. She kind of gave me background and context, and I asked, so what is your end goal, right? A good thing to do when people give you a lot of information, some of which they may repeat, just because, and I'm not trying to be funny at all here, it's just that when people are talking to you and you're a financial professional, there's a lot of things that can be going on. First of all, they can be feeling intimidated because they feel that you know more than them. They could be feeling anxious. They could have anxiety. There's just a lot of things that can go on. I've witnessed all of them. And so this is the reason why you want to be, I'll even throw this in here. You want to be empathetic because they may be feeling all those things, right? So let's just say she says everything she wants to say. And sometimes people have a hard time articulating what they're trying to say, but I know because I'm listening, right? And then I kind of calm the storm and I go, so where are you trying to go? What's the end goal, right? That is a very good question to give them. Why? Because it future paces them to start giving you the details, the meat of it, right? They may give you a lot of fluff, which in this particular case she did. She gave me a lot of fluff, and it wasn't really what I needed to figure out if I can help her, right? So you want to say something like, tell me what the end looks like. Tell me what the end goal looks like. Tell me what your an ideal scenario would look like in your particular case, right? And then they can kind of paint you a picture of what they're trying to get to. Now, if you're very, very, if you know what your skills are, you're going to be able to tell right then when they say that, whether or not you can help them. Is everybody tracking with me? Is this making sense? Okay. Now, another good question you're going to have to ask, because when they give you their end goal, if they can give that to you, because sometimes they're going to go, I don't know, I have never really thought about that. You can go, well, if you had, if you had come to me with all these things kind of fixed in your life, the things that you've just kind of been naming here, is there anything left that you would like, like would make it kind of perfect, a perfect situation, or ideal, like we said earlier? Because what you're trying to hone in on is seeing that they can kind of target what it is. this is what I found out, just as a general rule, is if you feed people the answers and they don't come up with them themselves, they have a lot less buy-in, or what I would call agency, around the solution. What does that mean, Dominique? Well, when someone is telling you they have a budget issue and you're listening to them and you understand they have a problem, they have more month than money. And it could be because they spend too much or whatever the situation is. We're not judging them. But when you tell them they have a budget issue before they admit they have a budget issue, any work you do with them, and this is just from experience, it's like they're not really accepting your advice. They're not really accepting of your advice all the time. But when they admit, yes, I have a problem spending. Yes, I don't know how to cut up the credit cards. Or yes, I have a shopping habit. Then we got agency and ownership of what the problem is. And so then we can be like, well, you're the one that told me you had the problem and you're the one that came to me for help. You can always use that. But when you feed them the answer and spoon feed them everything, then it's going to be really hard. Okay. So I'll say one more thing on this and then we'll move on to the next scenario. I ended up referring this woman to someone else because when she told me, and I'm not giving any names or anything, but once she told me she has like a budgeting issue essentially, and in her particular situation, she needed someone to kind of come alongside her and coach her to give her some accountability around the right types of decisions. Well, I already know that Dominique doesn't do that well. I'm not good at running behind you and asking you, did you do this? How much did you spend? Let me see your budget. Okay, you're off. Like there's software for that, or there's other people that do that better. And I gave her a referral to those particular people that do that. And I actually gave her some tools she could use. Now, that's staying in my lane because I know that if I take her on as a client, first of all, it just wouldn't be a good fit philosophically. That's not the type of financial planning that I do and the financial type of advice that I give. I think she's better off with maybe a financial counselor or a financial coach to come alongside her to give her some accountability around the different types of actions and disciplines she would need to take, that would need to take place in order for her to rectify her situation, right? In my particular case, that's not what I want to do. So that was a referral. That was pretty easy for me, okay? But do you see how using this rubric, though, I am kind of walking through how I've come to a decision on where I'm going to be able to insert myself in the situation. Like I said, sometimes it may look like working directly with me. Sometimes it's going to look like me referring you to something or giving you some resources, in which case I did this. Okay, everybody tracking? That makes sense? You guys are not talking to me tonight, so I don't know if you're hearing me or I'm hoping you are. You're still in here. I still see a number of people in here. Thumbs up. Thumbs up in the chat. Thumbs up or like and share. Awesome. Okay, so we're going to hit scenario 2. So scenario 2 is this guy. This is also, so I spent a lot of time at church. So some of these are going to be church people. This guy is in my Bible study, okay? And he comes to me last week. Actually, I want to redraw some stuff. Give me a second here. Yeah, there we go. So let's put this back up real. And let's do relatable. This is, hold on a second, guys. This is kind of getting on my nerves. It's like giving me a double. Let's see if it works now. I don't know why it's doing that on my end. Give me a minute. I'm just trying to make sure. Yep, it's doing the same thing. Okay, never mind. All right, so relatable, empathetic. So our rubric here, we're going to use this a lot. attentive. You'll know it by the end of the night. Listening. All right. And then let me change the pen for... Okay. So here's the situation. Guy comes to me. He's in my Bible study. And he's like, I've been meaning to talk to you. I have a situation where I have an asset, a real estate asset, and I think I want to sell it. You know, the people are moving out. And what do you think I should do? I think that was pretty much it. What do you think I should do? So the context is he knows I'm a financial advisor, and he's asking me for advice. And I get this. This happens all the time. If you're a financial advisor out there, people probably come to you and ask you different things all the time that are totally just, you know, pieces of a puzzle that, you know, you need way more context around. Okay. So what I said to him was, what did I say? I said, I'm trying to think about the sequence of the conversation. I said, well, oh, I know what I asked him. I said, do you want to be a long-term landlord, or do you want to, no, give me a second. I'm trying to remember the conversation here now. I should have wrote this down. But I was just, I had things in my mind, and I just kind of scribbled some stuff on the paper about what I was going to do tonight. So give me just a second. So the people are moving out, and he's wondering if he should sell it or rent it back. That's what it was. So he was wondering if he should put it on the market and sell it, or if he should try to find another renter. And I asked him, I was like, well, where is it located? Do you want to be a long-term landlord? How long have you owned it? And see, these are all questions that are pointing around different, you know, implications for what a sale might look like, right? So which of the four, I'm asking this again, was I doing when I was asking my questions? Was it relatable, empathetic, attentive, or listening? Which one do you think? I think you're going to see a theme here. I will say that. I'll give that away. You're going to see a theme with at least the way that I do this. Maybe you would do it differently. What do you think? Okay, so attentive and listening. You're always starting there, right? Because at the end of the day, you don't know if you can help somebody. You can't. Okay, let's just back this up. You can't help everybody. You can't. And I would dare say you don't even want to. You don't want to help everybody. Everybody's not a good client. And I don't even care how badly you think you need another client, your next client. You don't need a bad client as your next client. You don't. This is why you ask clarifying questions. Okay, you got to see where they're at. And the better you do your investigation and discovery, as I call it, the better likely that you're going to get something that is a fit for what you're able to do and how you're able to help them. So, you know, I proceed to go into how long does he want to keep the property? How long has he had the property? Does he want to be a long-term landlord? All these different things. Okay. Now, with this one, it's still kind of, it wasn't, what's the answer or the question, right word? It wasn't settled, meaning that I offered, since I'm going to see this guy every Tuesday, it was going to be kind of awkward to be like, go kick rocks and refer. At least that's not how I am. I would at least give him a fair shake and be like, let's have a conversation and kind of look at your situation, which is where we left it. Okay, so he's got to book an appointment so that I can get more information and really get some more ancillary details, right? Whether or not you sell a rental property, I think it has to do with a couple things. I've been in the rental game before too. So it has to do with this. Do I feel like doing this anymore? That's the first thing. I own the property. Do I feel like owning it? Do I feel like going to fix it? Do I feel like hiring people to fix it? Do I feel like, all the things? Like, do I feel like doing that? That's the first question. The second one is, okay, I don't feel like doing that. Okay, so do I have a gain? What type of gain do I have? In this particular case, we talked a bit about this a little bit. So he does have a pretty significant gain. It's going to be a long-term gain, but it won't be negligible, right? He's been taking depreciation and all this other kind of stuff. So he's got some tax implications from selling this property, which means that if I'm going to really help him, I need to know what other income do you have? Because if we stack all the income plus this rental property sale on it potentially, where does that push you, right? From a tax bracket standpoint. And this is what the implication is going to be from a tax standpoint. Now, it could be that that doesn't really matter because it's like, I don't care how much tax I'm going to have to pay on the gain because I just don't want this property anymore. That's why that first question is probably the most important. But do you see how we're using some deductive reasoning? We're using some listening skills. We're using, clarifying questions. We're being attentive. We're being empathetic. We're doing all these different things to get to a particular place where we can say, can I help this person or not? Do I have the expertise? Right? And this is what you're going to have to do as a financial professional, right? People are going to come to you with all these problems, maybe in your office or maybe just in a conversation. They see you at church or they see you out hanging out or wherever they see you, and you get into these conversations. That's how this works. So you gotta keep something in your mind as a rubric to kind of go through, and this is the one that I use. This relatable, empathetic, attentive listening. Okay, that's how you give all financial advice, whether it's free or paid. The reality is, as a financial advisor, you're always giving advice. Sometimes you're getting paid for it, sometimes you're not. That's the reality. Okay. All right. Here's my third scenario. Relatable, empathetic. I can spell. Attentive, listening. All right. Here we go. All right. So today, this just happened today, actually. This is a fresh one. So today I am at church with my wife, and this guy that I know comes up to me. I was having a conversation, and he just kind of like waved at me and talked to me a little bit. And then he was like, hey, I need to talk to you afterwards, right? And so we go through service. Afterwards, he goes, hey, and he gives me a little bit about his situation. Let me see if I can remember all this. He goes, I want to sit down and talk with you because we got some changes. He's married. He has a family. We got some changes going on in my life, and I've moved up the ladder. My compensation has gotten way more complicated, and we work with the financial advisor, but and he didn't really go into detail. He was just kind of like, we work with the financial advisor, but they don't really kind of specialize or have knowledge around what I feel like I'm facing, and I just want to kind of sit down with somebody that can kind of help me reassess where we are right now and provide some guidance there. So that was what he said. So I asked him, and I'm giving you a little bit more, or giving you a little less detail than what he gave me. But the question I wanted to know is, whenever somebody asks, or whenever somebody tells you, and this is key, this is a writer downer, so write this down. Whenever you're talking to a prospective client and they tell you that they already have a financial advisor, man, there's so many lessons here. Let me give you the first one. Whenever they tell you they have a financial advisor, you need to ask a lot of questions on that particular point, because you want to know what that advisor is missing that you can come alongside and give them. Hopefully you have it. Don't lie and say you don't, but hopefully you do have it, because then that's an easy switch, pretty much. And I always say this, people are not talking to another person when they have a financial advisor. At least they got to be at least 1% dissatisfied. They could be 99% satisfied, but that 1% have them talking to somebody else, like this person had for me or did for me. Then come to find out, and no shade about these people, but I know in the bell curve of these type of advisors, most of them fit right here. The Northwestern Mutual people, young men and women, you're too transactional. You just sell products, and you don't sell financial advice. You sell products, and so he started naming some of the products that had been sold to them that don't really help him or don't allow him to feel and or trust his financial advisor to be the person that he wants to talk to about this. It's like everything had a product attached to it. And so we got this, we got that, but we don't really have what I feel I'm going to need as I'm going up the income ladder. And I'm speaking for this person going up the income ladder, needing more tax support, more oversight for wealth management as I'm building wealth and I'm kind of like ascending up the income ladder. Compensation is getting more complex. Executive comp is being added in. And now I've got different types of tax issues. His guy or gal kind of showed their hand on what they're able to do by just giving them a lot of products and no financial advice and no financial planning, really. Okay. And so I found an opportunity to differentiate myself right then and say, well, have you ever had a financial plan done? And by this time his wife was in. So this is always a great tell. You can always tell in a couple which one is the more, I would say, is the CFO, the family CFO. Not to say that the other one's not involved, is there someone usually takes the lead. It can be the man or the woman. But what I was noticing whenever, and he was taking the lead on this, but I'm going to tell you, here's another writer downer. This is another master key. When he's talking, he's going to talk. He's going to be like, he's the family CFO. He's just going to be talking. He's going to be saying stuff. He's going to be doing that. And not that I'm not paying attention to him, but what I started to do is I start to look at the wife. I started to look at the wife and look at her facial expressions, see how she's reacting while he's saying this kind of stuff. And I'm looking for a couple of things. First of all, I'm looking for her agreement. I'm looking for her head nodding like, yeah, that's where we're going through. Because if she doesn't do anything, then what I want to do? What do I want to do then? I want to ask her questions. Even if she's not the family CEO, I want to start asking her questions. Because not that I'm trying to stir up anything, but at the end of the day, if you're going to, the quickest way to not be able to bring on a husband, wife as a client, the quickest way to not bring that household on is to have one or the other be in disagreement. That's the quickest way. You can have one that's like, yes, I want to do this. We need to hire a financial advisor yesterday and da-da-da-da-da. And the other one's not on board. Done. It just doesn't happen that way. Now, I've seen where the spouse kind of be like, well, this is my financial advisor. You can have your own or something like that. Now I'll go do this and you're not doing any planning. You're not going to be involved. And the other spouse just never shows up. I've seen that before. But if you're trying to bring them on as a family, you got to get buy-in from both. Definitely. Because that person is, there's no way they're going to spend all this time with that person, eat, sleep, do life with, and see you 4 times a year at max. No way. It don't work out that way. So they're going to definitely go with whatever their spouse is saying. So you want to be paying attention to that. And I was paying attention to what the spouse was saying. And and then he brought her in. That's what he did. He asked her a question, brought her in, and then she was able to say some stuff. So then I was like, okay, they're on the same page. Okay. So there was a lot. I did a lot on this one. I did all 4. Okay. And so we're going to be probably meeting after the first of the year, after my sabbatical, to see how I can help them. It's always about how I can help them. Can I help them? I got to see their situation, right? So I don't really know anything right now. I just know that this is a potential client, at least, for what they're going through. And let me double click just a little bit on. And I got one more scenario and then I'm going to wrap it up. So if you guys have questions, go ahead and throw them in the chat. Let me go back to the Northwestern Mutual situation. Okay. So here's the deal with all of these. EJ, Ray J, Merrill Lynch, Mass Mutual, New York Life, all of them. Let me tell you something real quick. If you're working for one of these companies or organizations, that is not in and of itself bad. It's not. It could be a great opportunity for you to meet a mentor, great opportunity to get you some reps in and learn. Dave DeSalle, one of my great friends who is the president of the Model FA, started his whole career at Northwestern Mutual. I know plenty of guys and gals that are at all these places that do great work. Let me show you the trap that I don't want you to get into, that the person that I talked to today, their person that is here, I'm going to show you the mistake they made that I don't want you to make, okay? This is a writer-downer. I don't care what your training, when you're getting your licenses and all that kind of stuff, that part when people are telling you on how to make the sale, on how to close the sale, all these can be really great skills. They can. And I think they have their uses. They're like tools. But you don't always use certain tools for every job. I mean, they may be specialized tools. You don't always use them. And what I'm trying to tell you now is you never, ever put the sale or the transaction or the product before the advice. Remember I said earlier, you're a financial professional. You're a financial advisor. You're going to be giving advice. That's just what it is. Sometimes you're going to get paid for it. Sometimes you're not. If you adopt that attitude, then this would have never happened to this Northwestern person. But I bet you, and I'll find out soon enough, that when I talk to this prospective client, I'm going to find time and time again that everything that they put into their financial plan or their financial house from this financial professional has been product or sale or transaction first and not financial advice first. Now, if you were giving away the financial advice, giving it away because you just want to help the person, and there's a balance there too, then this person would have probably never came up to me and asked me any questions, because they would have just went to their guy or gal at Northwestern Mutual. Because this is about trust. He must trust, the client must trust that the professional is going to do the thing right by them all the time. And clients aren't stupid. They understand when you're trying to make the sale or you're trying to do the transaction. It looks something like this. Hey, I've got this situation going on. This is the client going to the financial advisor at any of those places. Or any person that's just putting financial advice second and putting the sale first. I got XYZ situation going on in my job right now. I just got a raise. What do I need to do? Oh, we need to put you in this product. Or we need to get you into da-da-da-da-da. Okay, then the client goes, oh, okay, I mean, all right, so da-da-da-da-da-da. 6 months later, I got this situation and this just happened. I just lost my job. Oh, we need to get you into this product. Another product? This is what the client's thinking. Okay, well, don't seem right, but okay, all right, I'll go with you. Then 6 months later, the client calls up again and say, I have this particular situation and this has happened. All right, we need to get you into this product. It's like, no, you don't. Like by that time, the client is like, no, you don't. Now, they may not just up and leave you, but then they have the conversations that my friend had with me this morning at church. That's what happens. And it's because the financial advisor is not taking enough time to understand the client's situation, whether it puts more money in their pocket or not. They're just trying to listen, relate to them, be attentive, be empathetic, put themselves in their shoes and say, all right, let me see how I can best help you. And it may look like you just give them this advice. You might refer them to a good CPA, or you might, whatever. You might tell them a personal anecdote that happened in your life. Doesn't matter. This is the true essence of being a fiduciary actually is, where you are putting the client's interest before your own. Okay? Like it just has to be that way. Now, let me give you the last scenario. And we don't need any of this stuff for that. I think you guys have gotten it, okay? So, and by the way, you enjoying this? Is this helpful? This is what we're gonna be doing this. We're gonna do a lot more of this in the upcoming cohort for the Advisor Growth Accelerator, but I'll give you a taste of that tomorrow in the workshop. So get your tickets. Get your tickets for the workshop. You're gonna be so glad you did. We'll do stuff that will enhance your palette and give you more tools in your tool belt as a financial professional, as an aspiring financial professional. All right, so what was I about to say? Oh, so let me, I'm gonna give you a situation. These are all, these last three were prospective clients. So these are people that I don't work with. These are people just that I know that I may end up working with, maybe one of them. But this one that I'm about to give you now is something probably that you will go, especially if you're going to be self-employed, that you'll go through a whole lot more than any of those other ones. And maybe not, I don't know, depending on your situation. But I have a client, good guy, love him and his wife. So he has a financial advisor as a neighbor. I think she works at UBS. And so the reason why that's important is because his 401k and all his stock compensation is at UBS. So there's a natural, hey, you should let me manage this because I'm at UBS and your stuff's at UBS. That's what his neighbor has always told him. Even before I came along, I believe this is the case, even before I came along. And we've been working together for maybe 4 or 5 years, something like that. Okay, I'm giving you all this context because I need to set up what he has said to me at least on 3 occasions since we've been working together. Okay. And this might be kind of funny to you because this is a little bit of my personality coming back because I can be spicy with clients. I can be kind of pushback. I can give you some pushback. Like I can snap back with you. I'm not the kind of advisor that's just like, oh, the client's always right. Yes, but I'm going to tell you're wrong right now. Like I will argue with you. And you know, look, if I'm wrong, I will come back and say I was wrong. I will do that. But if you're wrong, I'm gonna be like, nah. Or if you give me some lip unnecessarily, I'm gonna throw some stuff. I'm just gonna show you what I did. Okay. So he says something like, and I don't know what level, at what stage of our meeting it was. Most of my client meetings are about 60 minutes. And so I don't know, maybe we were in minute 20 or something. And we always kind of chop it up, talk about the weather for, 4 or 5 minutes, how's family's doing, blah, 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 and then we get into it, okay? So I think maybe we were talking about performance of his portfolio, investment performance in his portfolio. And so he kind of, and I have to throw this caveat out. So all these things typically happen in what I call a very passive aggressive way. It's like you're not coming right out and saying it like what you want to say. You're kind of like coming at it at the back end, right? So he goes something like, maybe we're looking at the investment performance and it's not like the market, or he thought it could be better. And he goes, because I have that, because my neighbor who works at UBS always trying to get me to come over there and move my money over to her, something like that. So I'm like, in my mind, I'm like, and I mean, we've talked about this before. Like, if you want to move some money over to her, then do it. Like, okay. And so when clients are, in this particular case, and it seems like I'm going over, maybe it seems like I'm going overboard with this, but just bear with me. When clients challenge your professionalism or your knowledge or your expertise in something, or the way you're doing it, your strategy that you've employed, that they agree with, that didn't work or give the same expectation as what they thought, and now they're like, did that really work out the way? That kind of stuff. Okay, any of those scenarios, okay? Here's what I'm going to tell you that you should do. the very first, and this falls into the relatable, empathetic, attentive listening also. The first thing you need to do is you need to acknowledge their position. Don't ignore it. Don't be dismissive. Don't, in his passive aggressive way, I still acknowledged what he was trying to say, what he was trying to get at. Okay? Don't dismiss it. No. First of all, no one likes to be ignored. That's just, humans don't like to be ignored. Even if it's uncomfortable. Yeah, this is just going to happen. You have to have some tough skin as a financial professional. It is what it is. So I don't know exactly what I said, but I can imagine I said something like, well, you can, this is your money. You can always move your money if you want. If you think that you could be getting better performance, then that's a decision you'll have to make. But remember that trying to beat the market is not our objective here. We're not trying to beat the market. It didn't do anything to us. All we're trying to do is we're trying to get you to a certain number so that when you get ready to give the deuces to where you're working right now, you can. Okay? And let's just review where we've come from working together. How far we've come. And then we kind of review that, right? Now, I'm going to tell you something else I did that you may or may not want to do, but I have a rapport with this guy. Now, this guy has a higher concentration, has a relatively high concentration of a company stock that he gets through bonuses in his portfolio. And for years, I have been advocating for a diversification. And for the very first half of our time together, the stock was doing really well. Well, it's kind of tapered off, and it's done one of those down, up, never hitting its highest highs anymore, and creating some low lows, right? And I remember one of our last meetings, we talking about this, when he finally was like, okay, yeah, let's go ahead and sell some of it. I reminded him that when I've asked you to diversify and do a different strategy that's actually doing pretty well, you said no, and we have lagged because of that decision, really with you like not wanting to relinquish control. Do you want to acknowledge that also? Oh, well, yeah, that has happened, but no buts right now. Let's make sure that we acknowledge that also, because that is an issue here. It's not an issue just specifically in the portfolio. Yes, it can be, but it's an issue of trust of my advice. Because again, I'm the one that's the professional here. I'm the one that's been doing this longer here. And sometimes it's okay for you to put your foot down with clients. Because sometimes clients forget, they may lose sight. Let's put it that way. They may lose sight of what the end goal is. The end goal here, just so we all know, is no matter who your client is, they may be knucklehead, they may be, the best client in the world. But the goal is for you to get them to the destination they want to go to faster than they would have got there on their own. That's what they're paying you for. If they have to learn everything that you know and do their job so that they can make the money to invest or whatever, then that kind of defeats the purpose. They get no leverage out of that situation. No advantage. And you're here as their advantage. So sometimes it's okay for you to remind them, I'm your advantage. Use me as your advantage. Stop doing things your way. Allow me some autonomy here to show you that I know what I'm doing. And it's okay. It's okay to give that pushback. I think a lot of financial advisors are a little gun shy when it comes to that kind of stuff. I'm not. Okay? So now, can you do that as a third-year advisor or even a fifth-year advisor? Probably not. But I don't know. If you're working for somebody, you're working for an RIA, you're sitting, first chair or something like that, and your boss or whatever has given you some autonomy to kind of push back a little bit, good for you. And good for them for giving you that. Because sometimes clients need to be politely professionally reminded of what the goal is. Okay? You're always going to do it. Yeah, I remember this saying that I will never forget. Mean what you say what you mean, but don't be mean when you say it. That's a writer downer. Say what you mean what you say, but you don't have to be mean when you say it. Okay? And so you can operate in that particular way. There's nothing wrong with that. Okay? So, any questions? Any questions on that? I know I covered a lot. I'll probably have questions in the replay, I would imagine. But yeah, that's my rubric. I do not tolerate, this has rarely happened. This is happened more so in prospective client meetings than my clients, because I'm a pretty good choice of client and character, so I don't get a whole lot of this. But when people give you pushback and insult you or insult your intelligence or any of those kind of things, it's like, okay, wait. Right? We're gonna draw the line here. We both grown folks. We're gonna talk to each other in a nice way. Otherwise, I'm finna exit the conversation. Right? Hopefully it never really gets to that. I have seen, though, in my career, I have seen some what I would call uncomfortable, heated exchanges between advisor and client in work environments. I've seen this, and I'm like, it really doesn't need to get to that. It really doesn't need to get to that. Okay? All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are winding it up. Let me just say this once again. I think that for the last event of the year, you would be, you're going to kick yourself for not coming if you do not get a ticket to the Career Changer Workshop tomorrow at 7. Tickets, or the link for the tickets, is in the chat. You should just be able to click on that, or I think you can do it like that. Here, I'll do this. That's the link right there. So you should be able to just kind of like copy paste, highlight that in the chat, go to YouTube. I'll leave this video up for a little bit so you guys can get to it. But yeah, it's going to be great. We're going to talk about specifically if you are in the market, in the job market, and you're like, I'm trying to get hired by an independent RIA or wherever. I don't really know what they're looking for, Dominique. Well, I'm gonna show you all that tomorrow, and I will. We have had several examples of Jumpstart community members that have been able to use this stuff to get into financial services positions, and so I'm just gonna share that stuff with you, okay? And then we're gonna have some Q&A. It'll be fun. It'll be fun. So get your ticket for tomorrow, and hopefully this has been helpful for you for handling client and potential client situations. I don't want anybody that does this job, the one that I love, the industry I love, what I've put a whole lot of time and effort into. I want you to be equipped in order to do the best work you can. And that's not to say it's going to be easy, and that sometimes it won't be intimidating, but having the tools can make a big difference, right? So that's what this is what we're all about, is making sure that you have the tools in order to make a difference. Okay? All right. Well, good night, and we will see you hopefully tomorrow in the workshop. Good night. Bye.